Yeah, cool. So yeah, the secrets of AKS and how to keep up to date with it all. Because I don't know if any of you have used AKS or Kubernetes. It's a massive product and it's got all these other bits and pieces. So it's very hard to keep up to it. I kind of find it like a full-time job, near enough to keep up to date with the ever-changing ecosystem of AKS. So a little bit about me first. So some of you may know me, Richard Hooper. I'm a Microsoft MVP. I work for a company based in the Netherlands called Intercept as an Azure architect. You can find me online, Pixel Robots, and yeah, just gonna check out my blog, please. Give me some hits. So by the end of this talk, you should hopefully understand what I do to keep up to date with AKS, and then you can take some of that into account and do it yourselves. So AKS is basically Kubernetes, but Azure's version of Kubernetes. I say version because it is technically the same up until 1.24, because Kubernetes decided to not allow the beta APIs. We'll learn more about APIs in the next talk, in Kubernetes. So all of these V1, Beta 1 APIs that you currently are using in 1.24 of Kubernetes isn't supported by default. You have to enable it. So AKS decided we don't want our customers to have all the issues. It's going to make us so many support requests. So they're actually going to enable it by default for us, which is nice. So you get all these differences, and that's something you need to be aware of, is all these API differences each time. So they sort of do an update to the main AKS version. So you've got your semantic versioning, your 1.24.1 or 2 or 3. And the .24 gets updated about 3 times a year now. It used to be 4 times, but they dropped it down to 3 to try and help people keep up to date because it's that bad. But then you get the patch, and they sort of get released every time there's a security issue. So sometimes you can get 3, 4, 5 a month, and each of the different minor versions will get different patch version as well. So you've got to keep up to date with all of that. AKS will support that maybe a week or 2 after for the patch. For the minor version, it's about a month for them to put all the AKS goodness inside it. So what you're probably here for is the actual secrets. So let's switch over to my other screen and we will bring those up. Which one is this one here? Hopefully that should go over. Wait. Very good. Now, 1 second. We'll just get the mouse back. Anyone see my mouse?
See the pointer.
It's backwards. It's like mirrored it. There we go. So instead of extending the displays, let's just duplicate because that'd be easier. Then I can actually see what I'm doing. There we go. So I've got a little collection here, so it makes it easier. So the first place, except I have no internet now. Oh, this is going on. Why wasn't there? Bear with us, guys. That's right.
Hotspot on if you want to use it.
I've just got mine back on. It switched itself off. Refresh that page. Hopefully the 5G is good enough. Yeah, there we go. Cool. So the first place is the AKS. Because it's an open source product, Kubernetes, they have this public facing roadmap, which is basically a GitHub board. They have the backlogs, the planned committed work they're doing. I think that one just changed. The in progress development stuff, the public preview, what is shipped and improving, which is what we get to play with, GA stuff, and then stuff they've archived because it's been GA for longer than they. But what's quite good about here is they sort of, as you can see, that they've just updated it for 13 seconds ago. And we can see this PM or someone at Microsoft has converted the placement policy scheduler add-on and added it into an issue and added it onto the backlog a minute ago. So it's real time as well, which is really good. So I sort of check this once a day at the end of the day normally to see what's changed, what new features, like if something's moved from backlog to plan, then it's good. If it's moved to in progress development, even better because they're actually working on it. But when it gets into public preview, that's when I get excited about it. You guys maybe not, but yeah, it's quite a good way just to see what's going on. And what's really good about this is you get the full list of everything that's been happening in the last 7 days. You can also watch the Git repo, and then you can have different sort of custom settings here. So I have pull requests and new releases. You could do issues as well. So every time a customer creates an issue, it goes into the issues page, or Microsoft employee creates it, and then you can go in here and see all the issues. So if you have an issue, you can just chuck one in here, and usually the PMs will come back to you, or someone from the support will actually come back to you as well. So it's quite a good way to sort of get a bit of help. But yeah, the projects board is very helpful. They do have one as well for the sort of, what do they call it? The Azure government ones, but they haven't updated that since since September the 30th, 2021. So don't look at that, just always look at the public one. And what's quite good about this as well is if you go into some of the notes, for example, the API server VNet integration, you can go down to the issues, and you should hopefully be able to see that Microsoft and other customers are started commenting on it as well. So if you have an issue with it and you're trying it, or you want to give them some feedback, just come in here, add a comment, and then this one here is a PM, this guy's a PM as well. And they're super helpful, and they just write and try and help you and fix your issue for you, which is really cool. The next secret that I use is here. Is the releases page. So AKS is a product. They have software releases. They have different types of software releases as well. So this is one from 5 days ago. They always give it a sort of a date as the release name. You get all the release notes as well. So they tell you what's happening in new versions of Kubernetes as well to help you keep up to date. They tell you when old versions are being depreciated because they only keep them only the last 3 minor versions are ever really supported in Azure. I say really because you sometimes get a good support engineer who actually will help you before they update you to the newer one. So then you get the release notes, and then you get links to the Microsoft Docs or other cloud native ones. But these component updates are quite important. So this one here is Ubuntu 18.04 image, and that is the actual VM image for your node. So every week for the Linux ones, they'll release a new one. You can click on this little sort of link here. It'll take you to the changelog of what's changed inside that VM. So you can see all of the images they've pre-built into it for containers. They can see all the, there's a lot of images and different application packages they put on it as well, what they've installed. So like you can see a load of libraries here for Bionic updates and security. So in this way, you can sometimes find if they've added a feature into the node that you will need, otherwise you can customize it yourself, but it's quite cool to see what they've done. And yeah, once a week, roughly, they release a new Linux version node because it has all the security patches in it. And you probably find it's hard to update a AKS node because yes, Microsoft will patch a Linux one every night with an update, but you have to restart it yourselves. You could use this tool called Kubernetes Update Reboot daemon, or could. It's okay, it only works with Linux though. So what I find instead is to just basically do the weekly updates yourself. You can do it automatically if your applications can handle it, or you just do it in your own maintenance window. And maintenance windows are now in preview for AKS as well, which is really cool. So these releases are just, quite cool. And what I do is I watch the repo and watch the releases. So every time there's a new release, I get an email to tell me. I also have what you can do at the end of here, I think it is, if you do .atom, I think it is, it should hopefully, if the internet works, give you an RSS feed. So from that feed, you can put it into Teams or somewhere else, and every time there's a new release, it gets put there. So where I work, we have a Teams channel for that. So everyone knows there's a new AKS release. Go and update all of our customers' clusters, or tell the customer to go and update it if they're looking after it themselves. So that .atom is very key, and these releases are awesome. Another thing on the component updates is, you'll see which one. If we go to here, we've got the Oms Agent update. So they still call it Oms, even though we shouldn't be calling that anymore. But Microsoft will look after quite a few of the AKS add-ons. So you've got like the Keyder add-on, which is new, and the Key Vault CSI integration, so it can pull secrets from Key Vault into your pod. That's all managed by Microsoft for you. But then you also have cluster extensions, which is totally different, but you have to look after that. So if you see it says here OMS updates, you can go and find out what's updated, and then when you do this AKS release, this node image update, it will pull that down for you as well, which is really nice. If it's a security update, Microsoft will actually do that behind the scenes for you automatically, so you don't have to worry. But if it's just like a feature change, then you just do your update, it's all good. And then my next secret is this one. It's another Git repo, but I'm guessing everyone here has heard of the Azure Cli? Yeah, cool. So they have these preview extensions, and AKS has one, and this is the source code for it because it's all open source. So what I do, and they probably don't like it that I do it, is I go to pull requests every now and again, and then I go in the filter section and type AKS, and then I can see what's coming up. I can sort it by the recently updated section, and then I sort of readjust everything. So I can see that the AKS CLI is going to have a new feature for added namespace changes. So what this will basically tell us, well, let's have a look. We can actually go inside and then see the source code. So we click on Files Changed, because they never have put anything nice in the message. So you have to look at a bit of code, but it's quite simple. I'm an IT ops guy and I can understand it, so anyone should be able to. But usually I just scroll down, and sometimes you find the help messages and it says enable sync of namespaces as Azure Resource Manager resources. So this sort of tells me soon we'll actually be able to control namespaces via the Azure CLI. So like actually maybe get your Kubernetes context just to one namespace instead. So like if you've got all your devs running in it in their own namespace, they can then only access their namespace. So the AZ AKS get credentials command -- namespace and their namespace. And with your sort of Azure IAM permissions, your RBAC, then you lock it down so they can only access that, and it makes security a lot better. So yeah, what I do is every now and again, I just go in here, check what's going on. And then sometimes you miss things. So on the pull request again, I just sort of do the AKS, but then instead of open, I do close. So it's easy to do that. You just click on closed, and then you can find out what's changed. So we can sort that again by the recently updated. And then we can see that they've done some changes to the Microsoft Defender add-on probably, or command. So they had some compatibility issues. We can scroll down and see these ones where they're red, that means they haven't been merged. The purple ones are mergers, so they're good. And then what else have we got in there? So when you get a release, they do the software release for the AKS add-on again. So they update the document inside there. And we look at the files again. We see that this sort of history folder file, and it tells you what they've done and what they're doing. So what we can do is go back to the code section to make it easier for us. And then we can go to source, SRC, and then AKS preview. And then we find the history. And this is just a nice file. So if you don't want to go through source control and you just want to see what's been merged, just go here. You see, right, okay, so this was the Microsoft Defender issue, and they fixed it for the AZ AKS create command and the AZ AKS update command. Previous release wasn't released because they had some merge conflicts. And then they had some other fixes with the MSI auth, lots of cool things in here. They've had a few where they've not been released, it seems. But yeah, it's definitely worth looking at this and seeing how you understand it. And I think this here is part of the stuff for the namespace, which is coming soon. I've tried to use it myself because I like to play and it's not working for my clusters yet, but hopefully soon. But this is quite a good way to find out what's coming up before they even announce it, or even it's on the roadmap, because for some reason these two teams don't seem to always be aligned, or the public roadmap isn't aligned to this private open source stuff. So yeah, definitely have a little look at that as well. What I'll do, I can share all the links afterwards on the meetup page with Shabazz. Then we also have this cool thing, usually every second Thursday or every 2 Thursdays. It's the AKS public office hours. This is ran by the global black belt team. And what they do is usually get either PM team or external companies to come in and give talks or presentations about what's coming in AKS or in Azure, or they go through the roadmap. You know, recently we had the GitOps people from Flux Weaveworks come and show us how to actually use GitOps with AKS and what you could do, what's the best practices. The best thing is, if you can't make it live, you can actually just go and view it on YouTube. So I can just click this link. And then you can just watch the YouTube video live. I've already seen that one, which is why it's at the end. But yeah, you can just see all these cool things, and they also go through the AKS updates that they know about as well, and even the wider ecosystem for the Cloud Native Compute Foundation. So definitely go and have a little look at that. It's worth looking. But yeah, at the moment they're on holiday mode, so I don't think it's back until August, because everyone seems to be shut down for holiday periods. So yeah, not until after August, so maybe even September, looking at that. But that's definitely worth going. In the community we have there, it's all done in Teams, and you have free range of chat to other people and ask questions. And some people are actually there with big issues, and then we sort of go off in another chat sometimes and fix it for them, or we sort of just help them or get the PM teams involved, and then the black belts will just link them up with a PM as well, which is really cool. So it sort of bypasses that horrible Azure support that we're all used to. So definitely, if you're doing anything with AKS, look at that. And then we have a page that you've probably all seen, which isn't my favorite page, but it's the Azure Updates page. Here you can actually filter it by categories, and we can pick containers, and then we just filter the results. And this will give you updates of when certain things are GA or public preview. But what I find is things go GA or public preview a couple of weeks, sometimes even months before it actually lands on this page, because of the way it's done in their Microsoft backend. The PMs have to send something to a system, and then that system picks it up and then publishes it here. But the PMs don't always do that. And so this is okay. A lot of people use this as their source to tweet things about things with GA or something. But it's always out of date. It's very rare. It's not really in date. Like, you could go back to the roadmap and you can see when things have gone GA by when it's been moved over to the GA client. It's usually 2 to 3 weeks before. So this one is good if you want to show a customer something easy, it's nice, it looks pretty, and you know, it's got the links to the docs page as well. But yeah, it's just never always up to date. And talking about the docs page, that's another good place to go to keep up to date with AKS. The main docs page looks like this one. So you sort of have a nice overview, but what they don't have here is a way to tell you what's changed. So you can go in and find the docs page, so we can look at the concepts. Actually, let's look at one of the how-to guides. And we'll go to this one here, because this is also a new one. This is the AKS release tracker page, and you've got this sort of date here when it was last updated, which is really cool, but you have to manually know which pages you want to go check and remember when it was last updated and whatnot. So what you can do instead is use another page, which is another Git repo, because everything's in Git. And it's that one there. And then this one sort of gives you the AKS docs page with all of the docs in a sort of markdown file format, in no particular order or anything, but you do get the nice little sort of commit time. So that this page here, cluster configuration was updated yesterday. So I can now go back to the AKS docs, or I can click on cluster configuration, and I can read the docs in GitHub, because it's just a markdown file basically. What we can also do is at the top is click on the history, and then the history sort of gives you what files were changed, what was committed. So look all the merge requests and that, so you can see AKS web app routing was committed 20 hours ago, so that page has now been updated. So I can go and have a look at that in the docs page or here. And web app routing is a AKS add-on to enable it's designed to make it easier to do ingress controllers. So all your ingress objects, it does your certificate for you and updates your external DNS, so your Azure DNS as well, or by this, otherwise you would have to do it separately. It's good, it's still in preview, it's getting better. It uses Nginx, whereas their other ingress Microsoft have uses App Gateway, AGIC, never use it, it's horrible. But Nginx, this one is coming, it's better. They did have something which was for dev only. This one is going to be production ready. Definitely look at that. But yeah, it's just a matter of, they're not making it easy, so you have to go and dig, is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to convince the docs team to basically, in that main page, have a little overview to say what's been updated and when, but they're working on it, and hopefully we can get it, but they're nowhere near it yet. And we'll go back to this AKS release tracker, because when the AKS team do a release, you get an email, or you see it in the Git, and it says this is a release, and at the top it will say it will start rolling out now and it will end rolling out at this date, because Azure is massive. It's got what, 58 regions now? No, even more than that, isn't it? 60 something? I don't know. It's got a lot of regions, and they have a different order of what they roll it out in. So certain regions will get done first, and then they have like canary regions and some others and that. And it was very hard to know if that version of the node pool update or that version of Kubernetes is available in that region. So what they did is create this nice AKS release tracker, which is still in preview, but it doesn't look pretty, but it does the job. So you can then filter it by the different regions at the top, so like all the different continents, I should say, or areas, and which is quite cool. You can see what current version of Kubernetes or the AKS is there. So this one's on 703, the previous versions, and then if you click on these, it takes you to the release docs, which is nice. But what I really like is this release order section. So it tells you what order and what of the regions are in. So we've got Canary 1 and 2. They're running on version 0717, and it's finished. And then West Europe will be next. They haven't started yet, but they're currently on 10. So it's a weird order. I don't know why they picked this order, but they do West Central US, UK South, East US. But they don't get around to Europe until down on number 7. I think it's 7 or even 8. It might even be 8. So yeah, West Europe's there. It's North Europe. Yeah, and so they do North Europe before they do West Europe, even though West Europe seems to be the region everything goes into. So you would think it would get done earlier, rather than UK South, which never has capacity. So, why did they do that? I don't know. But it's good to see. It's like recently we had an issue with pod inside it that Microsoft managed called connectivity, which connects to the control plane from the nodes. And there was an issue in that, and we had to wait for the next release for them to fix it. And because all of our clusters are in West Europe, because that's where all our customers are, being from the Netherlands, I had to wait such a long time to be able to actually fix this issue for our customers, because there's no way for them to even push that down to us. You have to wait till it's rolled up to the region, which is a pain, but we'll get there in the end. And so yeah, definitely keep an eye on this as well, because it's very helpful. And I don't know if you guys are in all these different regions as well, but yeah, it's a good tool. And that is pretty much the best way to keep up to date with AKS. So thank you, Anderson. I spent ages on this slide, so we're just going to go for it. The clouds move all and everything. Yeah.
Just one question.
Yeah.
How, based on your experience, how quickly are they sort of rollouts appearing per region?
So if we look at the releases page again, and then here they have a time frame at the top. So
okay.
the rollout is so this was released on the 3rd of the 7th. The estimated time for completion will be the 15th of the 7th. So they sort
That's
of
pretty quick.
put it there. And then if there's sovereign clouds, which are like China and that stuff, then it'll be there. So yeah, and they have a link to the AKS release tracker there, so you can go and check. You try and do it quick.
Yeah.
What is also a bit weird sometimes is when I don't know if there's any open pull requests here, but you can actually look at the closed ones. You can see the last pull request here, and you can actually see what's changed before it goes live as well. So they sort of just give you all of the stuff there, and you can see this one fixes the node pool not inherent node resource groups, and that's going to come out by the 25th of the 7th. So I know to keep an eye out for that for my clusters. These release notes are definitely worth keeping an eye on because they will tell you if there's breaking changes as well. So always check that before you do your node pool updates. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's worth it in the end, I think, anyway. Being an IT ops background and going into an AKS world, you know, it's just like what we used to do with packaging apps and stuff like that. You know, Kubernetes manifest file is just MST file. You know, it's nothing really special. A Docker file or a container image is just a MSI. You know,
Yeah.
It's just a different way of thinking about it, but we should all be able to pick it up by each other. Yeah,
It's great. Thanks.
cool. All right.
So have you got this hooked into automation to actually update those?
So some customers we do, if they've developed their app to allow downtime, they'll roll in updates, because when you do an update, the node will create a new node, or the AKS cluster will create a new node, update that one, move your pods over to it, then they will update the existing one, and then move your pods back to it. I don't know why they do it that way, not just use the new ones. I guess it's some strange reason, I don't know. But yeah, that's the way they do it. So you can surge it, so you can say add 3 nodes or 33% or you know, however many nodes you want, and it can do quicker. But yeah, if your app is only running 1 pod, then try and do it in a maintenance window. If you're running 2 and you can have downtime, you know, it can handle the failover of 1 and just automate it. You can do it anytime, or you can take advantage of the maintenance windows if you really want to. They have different upgrade branches you can do, so you can have just node images. We can have the node images and minor version, or node images and patch version, or the minor version, yeah. But there's 3-4 different branches you can use for that. I can't remember off the top of my head the names, but it's quite cool because that will work with the maintenance window, and you can basically just sit back and relax and hope that the APIs of Kubernetes hasn't changed, any apps will fail afterwards, because you have to keep up to date with that. So
yeah,
that's part of AKS, but then looking after the Kubernetes side is something totally different. We haven't got enough hours in the day to know the whole way of the whole ecosystem of Kubernetes, because I don't know if you've ever seen a CNCF landscape diagram. It's massive. We haven't got a screen big enough. Even these screens here are not big enough for it. So yeah, look at that if you want something to read and fall asleep with. Yeah, cool. Right.